Welcome to Michigan's WW1 Centennial News Report for June 2019. The Treaty of Versailles. On November 11th, the Armistice was signed, which was simply a ceasefire. The countries were still at war until June 28th, 1919, when the official surrender document, the Treaty of Versailles, was signed. This State Report. On Saturday, August 10th, from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m., at the Michigan Military Heritage Museum, located at 153 North Union Street in Grass Lake, will be holding a WW1 Centennial event over there. Please plan to attend. For information, please go to our website, ww1cc.org/Michigan, and look under Events. June 1st, 2019. National Aviation Hall of Fame, Dayton, Ohio. Major General George Owen Square has been officially nominated for enshrinement in the National Aviation Hall of Fame. He is one of 260 nominees in 2019 for placement on the 220 ballot. To learn more about Michigan's WW1 Centennial or find out about events going on around the state, go to ww1cc.org/Michigan for the latest information on Michigan's WW1 Centennial. 1 century ago, June 1919. On June 4th, 1919, Congress passed the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. June 4th, 1919, Punta Arenas and Limon, Costa Rica. U.S. Marines landed at Punta Arenas and Limon, Costa Rica. The landing has frequently been maligned by uninformed writers and anti-American propagandists as an invasion, though it occurred to prevent an intrusion by Costa Rican dictator Federico Tinoco into Nicaragua to finish off the Costa Rica's Revolutionary Army, which was defeated at the Battle of Yalbo. June 6, 1919. Finland declares war on the Russian Bolsheviks. In 1917, Finland declared its independence from the Russian Empire. This is part of the Russian Civil War. June 14th and 15th, 1919. Two British aviators, John Alcock and Arthur Brown, made the first non-stop transatlantic flight. They flew a modified First World War Vickers Vimy bomber from St. John's, Newfoundland, to Clifton, Connemara, County Galway, Ireland. The Secretary of State for Air, Winston Churchill, presented them with the Daily Mail Prize for the first crossing of the Atlantic Ocean by an aeroplane in less than 72 consecutive hours. A small amount of mail was carried on the flight, making it the first transatlantic air flight. The two aviators were awarded the Knights Commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire. June 16, 1919, Paris, France. The Allied governments present the German government with the Treaty of Versailles. They have 7 days to accept it, reject it, or resign. June 19, 1919. Opposed to dismemberment of Turkey by the Allies, Mustafa Kemal declares his Turkish Nationalist Congress headquarters in Ankara, independent of Constantinople. June 20th, 1919. Philipp Schneiderman resigns as Chancellor of the new German Republic, which he helped establish, refusing to sign the Treaty of Versailles. June 21st, 1919. Gustav Bauer forms a government for Germany, which eventually signs the Treaty of Versailles. Also on June 21st, 1919, the German Navy felt betrayed by the terms of the Treaty of Versailles, so they decided to scuttle most of the ships that were interned at Great Britain's naval base at Scapa Flow. June 22, 1919, began the Inter-Allied Games, which would last until July 6, 1919. It was held at the Pershing Stadium, which was outside Paris. The stadium was constructed by the U.S. military in cooperation with the YMCA. The event was only open to participation by military personnel who were currently serving or who had formerly served with the armed forces during World War I. Around 1,500 athletes and a total of 18 nations participated in the proceedings, which featured 19 sports. Following the conclusion of the Games, Pershing Stadium was presented as a gift from the American people to the French. The stadium area is still known as Le Stade Pershing and continues to be used as an open-air recreation park to this day. June 28, 1919, the Treaty of Versailles, ending the Great War and establishing the League of Nations, is signed in the Hall of Mirrors at the Palace of Versailles outside Paris, France. On November 11, 1918, at 11 a.m., the armistice took effect. The armistice was signed at a Frankport near Compiègne, France, and ended the fighting on land, sea, and air of the Great War between the Allies and their opponent Germany. The signing of the armistice marked a victory for the Allies and defeat for Germany, although not formally a surrender. The actual terms, largely written by Allied Supreme Commander Marshal Ferdinand Foch, included the cessation of hostilities, the withdrawal of German forces behind the Rhine, Allied occupation of the Rhineland and bridgeheads further east, the preservation of infrastructure, the surrender of aircraft, warships, and military materiel, the release of Allied prisoners of war and interned civilians, eventual reparations, no release of German prisoners, and no relaxation of the naval blockade of Germany. Although the armistice ended the fighting on the Western Front, it had to be prolonged 3 times until the Treaty of Versailles, which was signed on 28 June 1919, took effect on 10 January 1920. The Paris Peace Conference, also known as the Versailles Peace Conference, was a meeting of the victorious Allied powers following the end of the World War to set the peace terms for the defeated Central Powers. Involving diplomats from 32 countries and nationalities, the major or main decisions were the creation of the League of Nations, as well as 5 peace treaties with the defeated states, the awarding of German and Ottoman overseas possessions as mandates, chiefly to Britain and France, reparations imposed on Germany, and the drawing of new national boundaries to better reflect the ethnic boundaries. During the Paris Peace Conference, there were 5 major powers that controlled the conference. They were France, Great Britain, Italy, Japan, and the United States. The Big Four were French Prime Minister Georges Clemenceau, British Prime Minister David Lloyd George, U.S. President Woodrow Wilson, and Italian Prime Minister Vittorino Emanuele Orlando. The Big Four met informally 145 times and made all the major decisions, which were in turn ratified by the others. The conference began on January 18, 1919, and ended June 28, 1919, with the signing of the Treaty of Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles was negotiated between January and June 1919 at the Paris Peace Conference and was exclusively written by the Allies with almost no German participation. The negotiations revealed a split between the French, who wanted to dismember Germany to make it impossible for it to renew war with France, and the British and Americans, who did not want to create a pretext for a new war. The eventual treaty included 15 parts and 440 articles. Part 1 created the Covenant of the new League of Nations, which Germany was not allowed to join until 1926. Part 2 specified Germany's new boundaries. Part 3 stipulated a demilitarized zone and separated the Saar region from Germany for 15 years. Part 4 stripped Germany of all of its colonies. Part 5 reduced German armed forces to very low levels and prohibited Germany from possessing certain classes of weapons. Part 8 established Germany's liability for reparations without stating a specific figure and began with Article 231, in which Germany accepted responsibility of itself and its allies for losses and damages of the Allies as a consequence of the war imposed upon them by the aggression of Germany and her allies. Part 9 imposed numerous and other financial obligations on Germany. The German government signed the treaty under protest. Right-wing parties attacked it as betrayal, and terrorists assassinated several politicians whom they considered responsible. The Treaty of Versailles in the U.S. Senate. In 1919, for the first time, the Senate rejected a peace treaty by a vote of 39 to 55, far short of the required two-thirds majority. The Senate denied consent to the Treaty of Versailles. President Wilson personally negotiated the treaty following World War I, promoting his vision for a system of collective security enforced by a League of Nations. When the treaty arrived in the U.S. Senate in July, Democrats mostly supported the treaty, but Republicans were divided. The reservationists, led by Senator Henry Cabot Lodge, called for approval of the treaty only if certain reservations or alterations were added. The irreconcilables opposed the treaty in any form. In November, Senator Lodge sent the treaty with 14 reservations to the Senate floor, prompting an angry Wilson to urge Democrats to reject Lodge's plan. On November 19, 1919, a group of Democrat senators joined the irreconcilables to defeat the treaty. The United States never ratified the Treaty of Versailles, nor did it join the League of Nations. In 1921, Congress approved resolutions formally ending hostilities with Germany and the Austro-Hungarian government.